One of the things about calculus is that it's split into two important halves. The first half that you usually see is called differential calculus, and then the second half that you see is integral calculus. And we spent a lot of time in our class in 220 talking about differential calculus, though we will get to integral calculus a little bit. Both of these ideas lay on an important foundation that we have to talk about first. That foundation is the idea of a limit. So we can't really build the ideas of differential calculus without the important idea of a limit, and we can't really do what we want to do with integral calculus with another type of limit that we'll see. So the idea of a limit is sort of this huge idea that encompasses a lot of different types of limits. So we'll start by talking about limits just generally, but then we're going to move into some very specific types of limits. And we spend a little bit of time talking about a really important limit that we'll see that helps us in differential calculus. Later on in this semester, we'll talk about another type of limit that helps us with integral calculus. But just know that limits are a pretty big idea, and so we start pretty broadly on what it is, and then we're going to focus in on a specific limit that helps us immensely in talking about something called the derivative, and we'll need this in differential calculus. So we'll start talking about limits really broadly. About in a lot of different contexts, but then we're going to zoom in to some specific limits that we need for calculus to even work. Okay, so say we have our xy coordinate system and there's a function sitting on these axes. And here's our function. It's called f of x, and everything in red is the function, so it goes zoop, and then it has a few weird breaks where there's no value here, but the value jumps up to here, and then another value, and then it jumps again, but no value here. And then it has this kind of weird thing where there's a big hole here, but the function value is actually up here. So for example, if I asked you what f of 11 was, that means what is the function evaluated at when x equals 11? It's not this guy, but it's this guy right here. So it looks like the y value would be 4. And you could say f of 7 is, looks like it's 3. So when things jump around a little bit like this, we talk about the closed circle is where the function value actually is. The open circle is where it's not. And this is definitely a function because it passes the vertical line test. It's just kind of a wacky looking function. And so the place that we're going to become really interested in is a place like this where the function is going along and it looks like the value at 11 should be maybe 2, but it's not. It jumps up to 4. And then it hops back down and the function continues like it was before. This is a place where when x equals 11, the value of the function is 4, something we don't necessarily expect by where the function is heading or where it's going afterwards. And so this is the function value, but this will become important, this point. We're going to talk about how that's the limit of the function at x equals 11. We'll talk about this in class, but this is an important idea that the value of a function can be different from where all of its really close neighbors are telling you it should be headed.